notice the alert timing doesn't really begin until we get closer to that 2 o'clock hour this afternoon. So we still have a little bit of time, but the more we get into the afternoon and especially the evening commute time, you're really going to start to see some bigger issues, not only with just rain moving through, but likely freezing rain on the onset and potentially a little bit of sleet mixing in as well, which is why we have so many winter weather alerts in effect. You see these winter weather advisories. These were added since this morning. They were added about mid to late morning. So a lot of you may have had a ding go off on your phone from your 19 First Alert weather app, letting you know that winter weather advisories had been issued for your area. This will go from 1 p.m. this afternoon through 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, simply because this is when we expect the worst of the wintry weather when it comes to any ice, freezing rain, or even sleet concerns. Now, if you go a little farther to the northwest, say up towards the Toledo area, this is actually where we have an ice storm warning. So technically Ottawa County included in this, and that means you're talking more significant icing, 0.2 to 0.3 inches of ice. That is pretty significant, especially across our area and really anywhere across the country. Not to mention you can get snow and sleet accumulations up to about 2 inches. That's what's possible. So you see the big bullseye just to our west. That's where we expect the worst of the icing, but I'll tell you, all it takes is a little bit of a light glaze, and all of a sudden you have a lot of issues, especially when it comes to travel on the roads, and we're now just waiting on that temperature to warm, which it is. We'll walk you through what you can expect now as we head through the afternoon. So that second system you mentioned, that's what's heading our direction later this afternoon, and we actually talk a lot more about the system in California coming up tonight on First Alert Focus. So a little bit of a preview there for what we're going to be talking about a little bit, which is such a dynamic weather pattern that's unfolding. As for today, it is a 19 First Alert weather day. We'll begin it this afternoon, last through this evening, mainly because that's your best window, 2 to 8 p.m., where temperatures could be cold enough that you're able to see a bit more of that freezing rain or that icing potential before we warm more significantly headed into the overnight hours. So we actually will see an increase in temperature late tonight into early tomorrow morning before the colder part of this system rolls through during the day tomorrow. So that's just a little bit of a preview. And farther down to the south, it's not really any better. You see a lot of rain across parts of the south. That will bring severe weather for parts of that region as well. As for our area back here at home, we have winter weather advisories in effect for Ottawa County. It's an ice storm warning, mainly for the higher potential of ice out towards the Toledo region. We will likely see some icing, which is why we have the winter weather advisory in effect, but temperatures will be warming, and the latest runs of your future view actually paint that we may actually stay more so on the rainier side of this system rather than dealing with so much more of that widespread ice. And this would be an okay scenario, all things considered. You'll notice, though, as we go through this afternoon, that icing potential works back in. And the key really will be how quickly that moisture fills in. If we're still battling drier air, it may be a bit more scattered across our area, which is what your future view is projecting. If you go a little farther to the north, certainly that's where you're going to see some of that heavier snow, but your future view really wants to hold off on the deeper moisture, holding off it basically until we get into tonight. And that would kind of keep everything then at this point mainly just as rain. You can see temperatures by about midnight sitting into the upper 30s to almost 40 degrees in some spots. So that's what we're going to be watching. But keep in mind, any moisture that falls through the overnight hours before that colder air starts to rush back in could potentially refreeze, and then we just start that colder trend headed through the day tomorrow. And with it will come some scattered snow showers as well. But once that system departs tomorrow, we finally get a little bit of a break on Friday. That break is going to be brief because we've got another set of 19 First Alert weather days on the way Saturday into Sunday. This is a much more dynamic system for us, and I think this is going to cause more headaches than the one that we're going to have move through later today. And certainly you can see the much colder air as well. We're going to dive into that part of your forecast a little bit more coming up in the next half hour.